Life is a long highway, and I'm just doing the best I can.
One of the things I want to talk about, I guess I want to talk about, I want to talk about what you're doing now. I want to talk about your coaching. I mean, okay. I see and I sense when I talk to you that you've had some goals along the way that, you want to achieve something. You want to accomplish something. You want to be the best you can be, whether it's the drummer or the basketball player. And, now you're coaching.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. I think you just took a new offer. What's going on?
I took assistant men's position at the University of Denver.
Okay.
And so the past 3 years I've coached at Old Dominion University on the women's side.
Okay.
And but before that I coached at Furman University, Tulane University in Western Kentucky on the men's side. So
you've been coaching for how long now?
5, 8, 9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
And you've also run like AAU type.
I have an AAU program.
And you still have an AAU program.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I was the Carolina Celtics.
Okay.
We started in 2002 when I played for the Celtics. Chris Middleton played for us. That plays for the Bucks.
Yeah.
So that's how long.
You've taught my daughters some basketball lessons. I've seen you invest in a lot of people, and seems like coaching is something that you love.
When you're the point guard, you've always been coaching.
Okay.
A lot of times when you get into coaching, a lot of people try to tell you, you sure you want to get into coaching, it's hard, these kids. And I'm like, if you think these kids are difficult, try a Tracy McGrady, a Paul Pierce, rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton. Try to get those guys to do what you needed them to do. Got to believe in you. You got the right leadership, and they know that you have their best interest at heart. Like, try these professionals that are best in the world, and they're financially stable, and really they don't need anything from you.
Yeah.
Try leading those guys. I don't have a problem with an 18-year-old. Maybe you do, but that wouldn't be the case for me.
So you look at it as leadership.
It is leadership. It's leadership and teaching.
Okay.
And I don't consider myself to be a coach. I consider myself to be a teacher. The responsibility that comes with that is no different than the responsibility that will come with a professor. When you're, like I was in my business calculus class, it was in those economics classes, Econ 10 at North Carolina, and then you got into macro and micro. The job of the professors was to articulate it and teach it to you, that you can learn it and use it as a resource that it allowed you to put yourself in a position to compete for the best jobs. When I teach the game of basketball, I hold myself to that same standard and accountability. It is my job to teach you so you can go and compete for the best jobs. And so the one thing I am grateful about my program here is that the majority of the kids that participated or played for me or played in my program, they are the kids that you're talking about at these high schools and middle schools. They're the best. But, they've been taught not just the game, but they've been taught about life and how you do things and how you approach an environment and how you handle yourself in those environments. And for a lot of coaches, and being a coach myself, you can understand how important that is. Because when you recruit kids and you get them to your institution, you see some of the flaws that they have. And so since I have these kids that are younger, then you try to make sure that they understand how to handle themselves, and you teaching them, like, these are the things. When, my kids, I walk up and I say, if I'm talking to one, they'll tell you, you're talking to all of us. So that helps them when they know that they're in the environment and their coach is talking, they're locked in. So now their coach don't have to come back and say, were you paying attention, or have to spend any time teaching them. So those things are priceless. And so, but but you have to. You have to have been in those environments to understand what's important. Because a lot of people have ideas. A lot of people think they know what they're talking about, but who actually can get it done?
Yeah.
And so, for me, it's about being able to articulate the game. When I got out of coaching in 2017, there was a choice that was made. But my family and I, go back to our home in Chapel Hill or come to our home here in Greenville.
Yep.
And I said, I need to go to South Carolina because I felt like it was more kids. This is my home state.
Yeah.
It's more kids here that need my help.
Yep.
And so in that time, 2017, I was working with Zion Williams over at Spartanburg Day. I would go to Spartanburg Day and work with him.
Yep.
Then I had some kids here. And then I was working I would leave Greenville on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I would go to Columbia. I would work with Juwan Evans, Tommy Bruner, Khalil. I forgot Khalil's last name, went to Howard. I would leave Columbia. I would drive to Rock Hill. I would work with DJ Burns and Pat Williams. And that was my Tuesdays and Thursdays. Zion went on to Duke. He ended up being the first pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Juwan Evans ended up being a top 50 kid in America, along with DJ Burns and Patrick Williams. Juwan Evans went to Alabama. Khalil went to Howard. Tommy Bruner went to USC Upstate first. DJ Burns went to the University of Tennessee, top 50. And Patrick Williams, who was not top 50 when I began working with him, ended up being top 50.
Yep.
He ended up going to Florida State. So the next year, Patrick Williams is the 4th pick in the NBA draft. You go beyond that years later, work with John Butler Jr. and Bryce McGowan. And so now these kids are coming in and Bryce ends up going to Nebraska, being a 2nd round pick, plays for the Charlotte Hornets. John Butler is in the NBA as well. Tommy Bruner this past year was the leading scorer in NCAA basketball.
Wow.
DJ Burns led North Carolina State to the Final Four. There's only two people from the state of South Carolina that's ever been ACC MVP. The first one is Shammond Williams. The second one is DJ Burns. And so for me, I understand how important teaching is.
Yeah.
Because just in that amount of time you have, those kids from you can say the Midlands, but I say it's all the upstate of South Carolina.
Yeah.
To be successful in that regard. So,
You're passionate about it. You know some things. You know basketball. You know teaching. You know people.
And I think at 49, I know a little bit about life.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. Shammond, you're one of these folks that I've learned a lot from through the years. And one of the things I've learned is that when I think I know something about you or I think I know something, it's usually it's going to be something different, other than, it's going to be consistently, certainly competitive.
Right, for sure.
You've always done what you said you were going to do. I mean, you've been a man of your word. You've always given more to me and everybody I see around you than what you ask of us or take from us. And, again, you're here giving, and I appreciate you giving to our audience.
We got 20 plus years.
This is a great conversation, and what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about that life.
Yes.
First of all, talk a little bit about your family.
Yeah. Married. Been married for going on 10 years now.
It's a great wedding.
Yeah. The roller coaster. I was thinking about that with Wale. But married with 2 children. I have a daughter that's entering high school this year and a son that's entering middle school.
Wow.
What
are their names?
Aniston Williams and Shammond Williams Jr.
Gotcha. What's your wife's name?
Lynn Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, life is, we've been blessed. While here in Greenville, we went through, my wife being diagnosed with breast cancer. And, I learned a lot about, a lot of times people say, I learned a lot about myself and stuff like that. But no, I knew, I know who I am. I learned a lot about my children during that process. I learned how strong my children were in that process.
That's a scary situation, tough, out of control, out of your hands.
Right. But we're faith-based family.
Yeah.
And we're blessed that my wife was able to get through it. But like I said,
praise the Lord.
No question. But I learned a lot about my children, and I said, my children are bright. They're great. But I learned a lot about them, and that allows me to push them to this day in certain things, because I know that they're equipped. They know the Lord. They know who they are, and I'm proud of who they are, and what I think they'll become, God permitting.
Yeah.
So, my family is awesome. I don't really talk about my family much. I'm a private person, because I don't want my children to be objects.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you on that thing.
But my immediate family has, my mom, my brothers, my dad, my grandmother. I've always been kind of like a family person.
Right.
I've been driven by my family. A lot of things that I did was predicated on my family. You start thinking about my immediate family, my wife and children.
Yeah.
10 years in.
Yeah.
11 years in. So, everything else before that was kind of driven to make sure that my family was in the best positions. A lot of people say, well, Shammond, what's the best, thing that ever happened for you in this journey? When you start talking about, the athletic part of it.
Yep.
The best thing that ever happened was me graduating from the University of North Carolina. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college.
Wow, congratulations.
And from there, it became a prerequisite for everybody else. 9 years later, 10 years later, I had a cousin graduate from the University of North Carolina as well.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but everybody began to go to college, and it began to be something that could be done. And I think the best feeling ever was me graduating and my grandfather being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My grandfather, was kind of like the guy I emulated.
What was his name?
Odell McCullough.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the guy that I emulated. He was a brick mason. Dropped out of school in second grade to work. Built his family's house here on Rebecca Street, Nickeltown, and raised a family, 6. He and my grandmother, 6 children, and he was that dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody in the family got the height from my granddad except me. You know what I mean? And you look at my cousin, Kevin, 7 feet, my brother 6'4", other was 6'5". And I'm 6'2", but I think that what I didn't get in height, I got in morality. Not saying that they don't have it.
Yeah.
But the leadership, you know, I was the guy that spent the most time with him. You know what I mean? Growing up, stuff like that. And so the leader that I am in my family was all predicated on trying to emulate my grandfather.
So education, foundation. Now, tell me about success. What is success to you, Shammond?
It's interesting because I just had this conversation with someone. Success it's not a one-part question. I think there's different variations of success. So let's talk about success in athletics.
Okay.
Success in athletics for me is getting the most out of who you are as an athlete. We're all blessed with different types of talent.
Yeah.
So everybody's success can't be the same.
Okay.
It's about being able to maximize who you are. You know, a lot of times people say, Shammond, you feel like, you go back and play and all that stuff. I say, nope. Like, really, man, yo? I said, nope, I don't want to play no more. And it's like, man, why? I was like, I gave it everything I could. I put everything in it that I could.
Yeah.
I didn't cheat myself. I didn't cheat the game. I didn't cheat the work. I got the most out of it that I could possibly get out of sports. I didn't leave anything on the table. You know, people say, well, like when I left to go to Europe, like, you leaving the NBA to go to Europe? I remember Vince asked me that. Vince Carter, like, you? So yeah, man, I did everything in the United States I can do.
Yeah.
I want to do something different. You know what I mean? Like, I needed something to challenge me.
Yeah.
Learn a different culture. I tell people this. You'd ask me in high school where was Spain, I would have pointed to Mexico. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is just being honest.
Right.
And so, in all actuality, I want to be in my house in Valencia now. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't get a head job in the next year or two, you'll catch me in Valencia. but being able to get the most out of who you are, that's success.
Yeah.
You don't have to have any accolades to be successful in that regard. That's not it. That's not it for me.
Yeah.
Just be the best you that you can be. And however that falls, then be okay. Like I asked my children, did you do the best that you could do?
Yeah.
They say, yeah. All right. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So
that's success.
That's success. And as an athlete.
Okay.
So now you have to go in success as a person. What is success as a person? Well, being successful as a person is, first, what have you done to help others? It's easy to help yourself. But it takes something for you to have to go and help somebody else. It takes time.
Yep.
It takes focus. It takes wherewithal. Because a lot of times to help others, sometimes you gotta fight their mentality. You have to get through the hard part to get them to buy in or to listen. So, like, what have you done to help somebody be the best that they can be? The one thing that you can't get back in life is time. The time that you spend with somebody, the time that you give to others, like, that's priceless. And so success has to be predicated on what are you willing to do for others? Are you selfless? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, when you look at a person, you say, what type of success? Because in the Bible, it says you can tell who a person is by the fruit that they bear. Look at the fruit that they bear. You'll be able to tell the type of person. And so, for me, that's why it's people like, when I'm in an environment, I'm teaching, I'm trying to tell, like, why are you so, like, maybe, like, why are you so hard or something like that? It's not that I'm being hard. I know how important it is to get information and to try to be the best you. And so, and then I take it personal.
Yeah.
My name on the line.
Right.
I'm being honest, like, my name on the line.
Yeah.
Like, people gonna say, like I said, you come from under Shammond, that's to a certain extent, that's my fruit.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So, how you spend time with others and help others. And I think success, the last part is how you treat people. How you treat people. And for me, I think the biggest compliment that people can give me, or I've been given, is when people encounter me, whether it's new, but more importantly, people that have watched me grow.
Yeah.
When those people say to me, like, when they see me or we're talking, and then they say, Shammond, you hadn't changed. Like, for me, like, that's the greatest compliment that I can get, because hopefully it shows people that I didn't allow my environment to dictate the person. The person dictated the environment. A lot of times we let the environments dictate who we are, as opposed to we saying, you know what, I'm the light.
Yeah.
So as the light, I got to go in this environment and shine. I can't allow this environment to dim my light. I can't allow this environment to make me act a certain way. I got to be who I am and got to be okay with this is who I am. Because at the end of the day, what are people going to say about you?
Well, and that's a great question. You talk about your podcast, and at your podcast, you always ask somebody, hey, how do you want to be remembered? Is that the question that
That's
you ask?
That's the question I would ask.
Well,
people.
let me ask you that question, Shammond.
I say touche, huh? What I want people to say is, first and foremost, he was a God-fearing man. He may have not did everything right, but at the end of the day, he was a God-fearing man. He was a great father and husband to his family. He was a person that appreciated everything the Lord bestowed upon him. He's a man who stood for what was right. And he wanted everybody to succeed. Yeah. And he's a person that may have not had much, but through his work ethic, self-discipline, his faith, he was able to obtain things that most people dream of.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that would be it.
Well, Shammond, is there any question that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
No, I think you did a great job in asking questions. I think that what your direction is and what you're doing is really going to be great, because you're going to get people's perspective on what success is. You're going to get a chance to hear people's road. You're going to get a chance to see how they evaluate success. And hopefully the people that are listening will be able to pull from everything that they've heard and maybe use some of those things to help them be the best them that they can be.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's uplifting. And I'm just appreciative that you asked me to be a part of it.
I'm honored to have you in here, Shammond. Incredible.
We got many years many years together. I thought when you said the one thing that I do know is that I'm not going to be in Boston in a month of February to watch no basketball game.
You remember me coming up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, now when we leave out this building now, you got to sprint to the car.
Oh,
You
man.
was like, what? I said, you gonna have to sprint now.
Yeah. You know, when I met you, you were playing in Seattle.
Yes.
And y'all were playing Boston. Mm-hmm. And then when I came to Boston, you were playing Boston, y'all played Seattle.
Yeah.
And I remember we went, that was cold, so cold, you had that G-Wagon.
Yep.
And we ran to the G-Wagon after the game.
Yeah.
It was so cold.
It was so
I forgot about that, man. I was shivering like crazy.
We parked at Houston's, go to Houston's to eat. I said, nah. Remember I told you to run there, David. First you debated with me.
Yeah.
And that was a small walk. Now we got a little further walk now. Shoot, man, you got out that truck and took off.
Oh, man. It was cold. I forgot about that.
Yes, sir. The Hulk was live.
The Hulk was out. Well, you know, and I think that's the night Paul Pierce had a big party and you took us there and they had one song that played all night. Do you remember the one song? What was that song?
Go shorty, it's your birthday. 50 Cent, right?
50 Cent, find me in the club, man.
Lord,
they played that song on nonstop.
100 times, man. He became a millionaire just that night from that club.
Oh, man, it blew up like Nagasaki after that, man. That was
goodness,
incredible, man. Well, Shammond, I want to get you back. I do appreciate you for being here. The straight line to success. And,
straight
you
line.
know, as Coach Jeffries told me, he said, you know, I like the way you say that because, David, you know, when you look back, it is kind of a straight line.
It is. There's some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
There's some non-negotiables. It is. And to have success, too, the one thing I probably didn't talk about much, but hopefully people got it, was the sacrifice that you're going to have to make.
Got to make the sacrifices.
It's going to be some sacrifices.
You've made sacrifices. You continue to make sacrifices, and you know I've seen you. I've seen you inspire young people. I mean, we talked about some of the successes, and you know you've been in a culture of success. You know, the Chapel Hill. You know, the way Dean Smith put that together, the way he encouraged y'all to come back, the way y'all go back and invest in that group. You know, it's built a dynasty over the years, and you know, I've seen other people that have that kind of culture come to programs. You know, I'm not going to mention those specific programs, but they've taken that sort of mentality and they've built, and you can replicate when you've been in a successful environment like that. You can replicate that other places, and
that's right.
You know, I see that you will do that. You are doing that everywhere you go. You've been successful despite the odds. You've always been willing to make the sacrifices. And so, you know, I'm just looking forward to Shammond Williams' continued success, growth, and the continued future. And I thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
All right. So, Shammond, what is the best financial advice you ever got?
Be aware of what your money is doing yourself. Don't depend on anybody else. You be aware of what's going on with your money.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Take the time. Take the time to know. For me, you know, I've been blessed because, like, you know, I've never had an accountant. I've been my own accountant. But I wanted to work on Wall Street as well.
Right.
So you have some people that, you know, that's not what they wanted to do. So for Shammond Williams, it's a little different because of what I wanted to be.
Right.
Those who don't have those same aspirations, you know, it's still important for you to understand what your money's doing and where it's going, if it's not even going anywhere.
Let me ask you this. So you just told me that you've been your own accountant?
Yeah, I've been my own accountant.
So does that mean you file your own tax returns?
No, my accountant does my tax returns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell nobody. I don't need nobody to tell me what I need to invest in.
Yep.
Nope.
So you do your own investing.
I do my own investing. And I do my own, things that fit who I am as a person.
Yeah.
The best thing that ever happened to me was when I got in college and I began to do economics classes, and a lot of times you never hear about the negative things that come with investing or things like that. It's always great.
Right.
And then in my accounting class, they began to talk about, Rockefeller.
Okay.
And how Rockefeller had to be bailed out by, the government, and how these wealthy families were able to be bailed out by the government. They did some bad investing and lost a lot of money and so on and so forth. And I sat there and I said, wow, I've never heard anything. Investing, that's the best thing you can do with some money.
Yeah.
But nobody ever tells you the ramifications of it. Like for us that come from this social economic background, everybody, when you get some money, you better invest it. But nobody ever tells you, like, you can lose that money too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't really like losing money.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? Some people are okay with losing money. I'm not.
Right.
So you search for things that keeps your risk down, or that you're going to be guaranteed a certain amount of money, and so on and so forth. So it just depends on who the person is. But to know those things, you have to do your own research.
Yeah.
Don't depend on what people are telling you, because I'm not saying investing is not bad, because I do invest.
Right. That's right.
You know what I mean? It's how you invest. And I would say,
So take responsibility for your financial success.
Yeah.
And make sure it's
or if you lose, guess what? As long as I made the decision,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right.
It was me. I made the decision.
Yeah.
It was a bad decision. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't need nobody telling me how to make no bad decision.
Well, no doubt. And I think that's great. I appreciate what you're saying. And if I hear you correctly, and I love the fact that you wanted to be on Wall Street. I think that, you have an incredible intelligence about you and are unique in how you look at the world and go move through the world. And I think it's easy for people to say, oh yeah, you just got to get somebody to help you with that. You got to get somebody to help you with that. But you really need to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, understand the risk factors. Why do you think this is going to be successful? What could cause it not to be successful?
Right.
And then, make a decision for yourself before you make any of those investments. So
yeah, I would tell people, if I'm going to invest this amount and you're telling me to invest, I want to see you invest the same. Not the same, because you may not have the financial ramifications, but I want to see you invest the same. So if it's so good, then it should be good for you too.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, you may not have as much as I have, but you got enough that you can, that you can do the same thing I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
so if I lose, you should lose too. But if I win, why wouldn't you social? Who don't want to be a part of a winner? You know what I'm saying? Who don't want to be a part of a winner?
Yeah.
If you can join the Boston Celtics, in the fourth quarter and they up 20, and you gonna be, part of the World Championship team, you tell them you ain't gonna join? Yeah, more people gonna join. Yeah, I want in right now so I can be a champion too. Well, I feel the same way when it comes to this great idea. It's a great idea. Let me see you invest in it too. If it's so great, who don't want to be a part of a winner? I want to win.
Yeah.
So if you feel like this can win, are you investing in it too? Those are questions, but I don't want to, keep people from doing the things that they want to do. But just be aware of what your money is doing.
Yes.
And, and if you're going to make a decision, you make the decision, because you're going to be responsible.
Well, that's fantastic. Shammond Williams.
Thank you, Dave.
I appreciate you. Thank
you so much. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Straight Line to Success. Copyright 2026 Wyatt Sports and Entertainment, LLC. All rights reserved. Visit www.tslts.com and join the TSLTS Insider for exclusive content and updates.
Here we go. Life is a long highway and we're all, we're doing the best we can. Everybody do your best. Come on, come on. Do your best. The best you can.